had to take the day off, so I've called in, and he's probably not going to like this description, but I called in a podcasting legend. He's Derek Richey. He's Derek Richey of the Straight Red Card, and I called him in because I wanted to do something on the World Cup, and I wanted to have him on anyway. I wanted a fair reason to have Derek on for any reason. So I was fortunate last week that Keith had to take time off to go to an awards banquet with his son today. So Keith's chair is being taken care of by Derek Richey. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Stephen. How are you?
Not bad.
Awesome.
So thanks, Fred. Thanks for being on. Also at the last half, and I forgot to tell you this when I was talking to you, but we have a partnership with the San Diego Flash. I know Clint Alexander, so he's coming on in the last half of the show to talk about making money in soccer. Warren Bart and potentially getting a soccer stadium in San Diego and just growing the sport, because he's one of these people, and you know, being hooked up with a Brickyard Italian, the lower levels of the sport are getting a little bit more exciting nowadays.
Gaining steam, yeah.
Yeah. But the main reason why I wanted to have you on, and it's you and I for the next hour, unless if Graham Wilson can call in. It's about the World Cup. Now, obviously, we've already gotten over the shock. We've already gotten over the shock of Landon Donovan not making the World Cup, and I know you guys on your show talked about it. So I fear I want to give you a little bit of a time. We talked about it last week, and Keith is still not feeling comfortable about it, and I'm sure you're not. I mean, what was your general thought when you saw the 30 come down?
Well, when Landon Donovan was left off the team, my first thought was just, well, how in the heck did that happen? And the more I kind of looked into it and talked with folks who were a little bit more in the inside than I was, and even hearing the tone of Stephen Goff's articles in the Washington Post, and then seeing the quote from Jurgen Klinsmann laughing at Landon's getting cut. I mean, there was something going on there behind the scenes that maybe would explain it a whole lot better than just the supposed argument by Jurgen Klinsmann that Landon Donovan wasn't good enough to be on this team, which on face value seemed pretty absurd. And then when you heard about how Landon performed during camp and during the beat test, he was one of the final guys, still standing, and, he looked to be in great shape and really motivated, and, it just, the more and more you heard about it, and then, Jurgen making Landon Donovan could only be a forward or a striker, he wasn't going to play wing, or, it just, to me, was political. And it took me back, and it took others back to last year, where that article came out through Brian Strauss, where there was some internal criticism from people that were players on the national team of Jurgen Klinsmann. And you kind of look at what happened after that article came out. And one of the two of the three guys that immediately got cut from the team after that article were Bocanegra and Herculez Gomez. And just the rumor started going out that, hey, those guys were two of the guys that may have said something more than they probably should have in that article. And that, one thing that Jurgen Klinsmann puts above all else is loyalty and being on the same page that he's on. And betrayal is certainly, in any fashion, is just something that is unacceptable to him. Now, it's easy to cut Bocanegra, although there were some groans from people when he was cut and never invited back ever again. it's easier to cut guys like Herculez Gomez and Bocanegra out of the picture and not have to worry about a flood of comments coming in and controversy. But he couldn't quite cut Landon Donovan out of the picture at that point. It just would have been politically would have been too difficult. So he strung us all along, I think, for a while. And when he saw an opportunity to make it at least somehow technically about Landon's play, his commitment, his fitness, whatever you want to call it, then he made the politically smart move and cut Landon before the 23 and made it about his play rather than about what it really was, in my book, was politics. And really, you know, in many ways, Landon Donovan has himself to blame for that as well, because you have to be careful about what you say. You want to stay on the same page as your coach as much as possible, but I don't think that that's what happened. And I think time will tell. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when there's a tell-all book, we're going to find out that this move was not about the fact that Landon Donovan is a less effective left midfielder or right midfielder than Brad Davis or Graham Zusi or any of the other guys, some of the other guys that made the team. It was really about the fact that politics was involved, personal feelings. Otherwise, it's really hard to explain Jonathan Klinsmann's tweet, which to me told a bigger story than people really talked about, which was sometime at the Klinsmann dinner table, there was a discussion about Landon Donovan, and it wasn't a very nice discussion, and the sort of betrayal became very clear to all at the dinner table, which is why that tweet would have made sense if we knew the whole story. So that's kind of my take on it, and it's not to say that it's all Jurgen Klinsmann's fault. Obviously, if you're Landon Donovan, you not only have to play well, but you have to do your best at least to stay on the same page as with the leadership with Jurgen Klinsmann and his team. And I think that's where that disconnect happened, and that's why we got the result that we did.
No, I mean, we're fortunate that we can look back at this now and say, well, we're going into a group of death. But I have read that a lot about a bunch of groups in the World Cup, that everything is that a lot of groups are groups of death. Is this one of those World Cups that is very, very even?
Well, I think, you know, if you looked at it, technically there are other groups, at least using the average team rank, that are harder. Group D, you know, with Uruguay, England, Italy, and Costa Rica, their average team rank is 13. Not that you can live or die by the rankings, but Group B is technically more difficult than our group, Group G. But Group B has Spain, Chile, Netherlands, and Australia, and I think their average rank is somewhere around 15. And then our Group G is more like in the 16.5 rank. So that puts us as technically the third hardest group. Now, the discussion could be the way the FIFA system works when we create these groups. And some might say that it's pretty darn flawed when Group H, all the way at the bottom there with Belgium, Russia, and South Korea, and Algeria, you know, the average rank of the teams are 32. So that's a long ways from the average ranking of your group being 16, 15, or 13. So, you know, what you could point out there is that perhaps the system that FIFA has set up to create the groups is flawed, and that might be the issue more than anything else. I don't think it's even, and I think it's the way the groups are put together is obviously going to affect what happens in this World Cup.
No, I mean, we are seeing. I don't know if you had the opportunity to listen to ESPN. They were doing a ESPN FC this afternoon, and Gilberto Silva already fired off the first cannon of controversy. He already said that Spain isn't getting out of the group, out of their group.
Well, I mean, you mean they're going to make it out of the group and into the the next round. Is that what you're
Or
saying?
no, they're not making it out. They're not making it out of the group at all.
I'm not sure how you justify that. I mean, it's seems a little crazy of a prediction. I mean, Netherlands are this horribly inconsistent team that can either play great or then show up and just not do anything. I think certainly Chile is going to put up a good fight, but I don't see how you can get Spain not coming out of this group. I mean, we can just toss Australia off to the side. Really, it comes down between Spain, Chile, and the Netherlands. And I just think Spain's just a more consistent team. Listen, it wouldn't shock me if the Netherlands and Chile went through and Spain didn't. But I just think that, I just think that's probably Spain's in, and it's really between Chile and the Netherlands. That's just my feeling there. But obviously, Australia got seriously reamed in that group. They have no shot at all in my book.
Now, I know a lot of the talk has been around, and I've listened to this on the football show and various other places, that Chile is a better team than we are letting on. But we see this leading up to, I mean, we've heard about Belgium for 3 years, that this is Belgium's era. They've got all this great talent. Now we're hearing of Chile. Are there people out there that are looking at some of these teams and making too much out of them, like Chile's group, because this is in South America, they're used to playing these South American teams, that it would be easy for them to beat the Netherlands, because we don't know if Van Gaal is continuing with them and Man United, or if they're going to or if the Netherlands is going to get out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. I would say, typically the European teams don't play as well when the World Cup is held in South America. I mean, but you can't really necessarily use that trend as a trend that's going to necessarily continue in this World Cup. I mean, it could be that, the European teams will just do just fine, that the players are in better shape than they've ever been, so travel won't have as much effect on them. But, it helps if you're Chile to have the World Cup in South America. You're going to have a lot of your fans there supporting you. So, yeah, I don't know if it's a huge deal, but I think Chile has the advantage over the Netherlands on this one. But, that's why they say the ball is round. We'll see what happens out there. And again, Netherlands they're one of those teams. I mean, they can show up and just be great, or they can just have one of those games, those off games that they occasionally have where, things just don't go their way.
Now, I mean, what do we? I mean, because a lot of the talk has been there are really four really great teams in this one. You've got the Argentinas, you got the Brazils, you got the Spain, you've got the Germany. Now, fortunately, the United States has got to play against Germany, and we have one of their legends. I mean, is this a time for Germany to be big? I mean, are we gonna see them truly be awesome, or out of Europe?
Germany is just one of those, I mean, they're just typically one of those solid as a rock teams during the World Cup. I mean, you could say, well, they'll probably make it to the semifinals and lose like they sometimes do. Or this could be the year or the first year European team actually, wins a World Cup in South America.